I envy some of my friends who got to live in several countries. When I'm here, I feel French, and when I'm in France, I feel Czech. Most of them are surprised by my accent. They think I have a good accent. My parents, they were still in shock.
Hey, it's Xuxu, Prague expat stories. Welcome, Anaïs. I think this is the 8th episode of Xuxu podcast, and I always start the podcast by asking if you remember your first day in Prague.
Well, I was 2, so I don't really remember. I have like fond memories of like the school, the French school, and probably like taking the tram for the first time. But other than that, I don't remember much.
So you are 2 years old. You
Yeah.
moved 2 years old, and so which year was it?
2011.
2011. Oh my God, that's crazy. So you're born 2009.
9, yeah.
Nice. All right. So do you have any first memory of living in the Czech Republic then?
Very far. Czech Republic is my life. It's like, what are your first life memories? Probably school and friends. But of Czech Republic precisely, probably like going to trips like outside of Prague, like discovering what Czech Republic really is. Then my stepmom, since she's Czech, probably first time going like outside of Prague and meeting like real Czech people. It's like different.
Okay. So can you give us a little picture of your life here? Like, so where are your parents from and how did you end up here at 2 years old?
Well, my parents are French. They lived in Paris, like around Paris, and I'm born there. And then my mom, she got like a job here, so we came here when I was 2, and my brother, he was 4 or 5. And they put me in the French school because I was too young to go to a Czech school. And there I learned English and I learned to make some friends, and they sent me up to like other activities. I used to do tennis, but I mostly used to dance. And then they put me in a dance school with Czech teachers, but it was in English. And then it helped me socialize and see something else than only the French kids. Even though I did like activities at the French school, it still helped me to like see outside of the French school. And then I just grew up.
But you said you didn't go to a Czech school because
my parents didn't speak Czech, and they didn't even speak English. When I came, all I spoke was French, and I learned English in the French school.
so it was better for them to put you in a French school.
Yeah, it made more sense.
And also, like, I guess when you're 2 years old, like in Czech Republic, there's not that many options for like preschool. Do you remember the first friend you made here?
I remember some, but most of them left. We're like a very few like in the French school who stayed like the whole time. So sometimes we like to talk about it like, oh yeah, I remember when we were kids and this and that when we were really young. But most of them left. Most of them are like expats and they go to different countries. I remember one, and she lives in China now. Oh, she's Chinese and she went back to China and now she's in Canada.
Okay. So
And-
you do make a difference between yourself and like expat kids that like come and go. But do you define yourself as an expat or?
Well, I used to think like myself more with them because like I didn't really speak Czech with other kids and I spoke English with also it's kind of mixed. Like I didn't really speak with Czech kids, so I felt more like an expat, but like now I'm still here and I'm one of the only I'm the only French kid who stayed from the beginning till today. I don't even know the definition of an expat. I couldn't tell you.
Everyone has different definitions, but to me, an expat is just someone that lives abroad that's not from the country they're living in. It's a broader definition. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you count as an expat because technically you're born in France.
Technically, but I don't even remember living there.
Yeah, but do you feel Czech then?
When I'm in France, I do. And then when I'm here, not at all.
Okay.
When I'm here, I feel French. And when I'm in France, I feel Czech.
Because actually, I never thought about it because I spent the first 15 years of my life in France. At what point in your life you realize that you have a country, like if you have a nationality? So,
Well, I mean, I'm definitely French, like nationality-wise, but I had like French kids who lived their whole life in France come here. And then like they talk to me, or like even people in France be like, you're not French. You never lived in France. You don't know what it's like. You're not French. So then I'm like, well, can I really consider myself Czech? Because I don't, like I speak Czech, but not fluent. So what do I consider myself? I'm kind of lost.
What would be your ideal, like, would you like to be called like half French, half Czech? It's not even half and half, is it?
No, it's like I'm French, But I grew up in a Czech country, and then I have Czech stuff, like stuff that I do that is more Czech. And then, like, when I'm in France, they're like, "Are you sure that you're French? You do stuff that is not French like." And I'm like, "What am I?" I always ask them, "What am I?" And then I don't, it doesn't seem like they know either.
But that's crazy. Like someone would say that to your face. Like, do you mean throughout your whole school years, or did it?
If I go to France with my dad and then I meet people and I tell them about how I live my whole life in Czech Republic, and they see that I do stuff that they don't do, they're like, "Well, you're not really French." And then also like kids who came like this year from France or last year who lived their whole life in France, and they're like, "Well, you're not French." Like, I don't know if it's a joke or if it's real, but then it's like if they joke about it, that means they kind of mean it. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna accept it. I'm not French. Fine. What am I then? I'm still looking.
At least, like, I mean, as long as you're yourself
Yeah,
and that you like
exactly.
it, that's fine. Like, I don't feel French every day. I feel like sometimes you could forget, like, what nationality you are. And what do your parents say when you're asking them, like, what am I? Do they understand the struggle? Like, is it a struggle?
Sometimes we talk and I feel like they realize that I don't know what being French is. Because like, I mean, I use like too much, I'm sorry. Because when I live here, I grew up in like a safe place. And then when I tell them about stuff in France, they're like, "Oh yeah, the stuff that you do here, you wouldn't be able to do in France. Like how late you go out, you can't do that in France. It's gonna be like unsafe." And then I think that they realize that I don't really know what being French is about, and they might be worried of me living in France and not knowing how it's gonna work. They understand me, I feel, because they've been living in Prague for quite a while. I mean, as long as me, so they see the difference.
What about your brother? You said your brother is 2 years older than you, like, and now he's living back in France.
Yeah.
Did he feel like a struggle readapting to France, or?
I don't think so. He's French and he was happy to move in France and be able to live somewhere else. But I feel like he's always been closer to France, and somehow because when like we came, he already knew a bit what living in France was about, and he was probably closer to France because he couldn't speak English as well as me, so he's probably closer to the French people, watching French stuff, probably closer to that than me, and probably a bit more international than my brother.
So when do you think is a good age to like move abroad?
There's a good age to move abroad. I think you definitely learn more when you're younger and you grow up there. If you grow up in several countries, I envy some of my friends who got to live in several countries. It brings a lot. I think at any age it can bring a lot.
Because do you feel like you grew up faster just because?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I would say so.
I wanted to come back on the fact that you and your brother have had different experience. So you moved here when you were 2 and he was 4. So that's it, like honestly not so much of a difference like in my vision, but maybe 2 years makes a lot of difference. But it's always been interesting to me how brother and sisters, they can have like the same education, but grow up to be like very different people. Like,
Yeah.
they just because they have different friends at school or like different hobbies.
Well, I feel like the difference is he does remember a bit of France. But sometimes we talk about it like, how do you remember that? He claims to remember. I don't know if he really does, but he claims to remember. And then he also has more memories of, because like at the beginning when we left to Prague, like my parents, they were still in shock. So every vacation we'd come back to France. And then as the time went by, we went less and less to France. So he probably has also stronger memories of us going back to France than meeting like our families. You know how I was talking about how if when you come to Prague, if you leave your kids in the French school and they don't do anything outside and they just go back home to their parents, they're gonna feel like they're still in France because they're not. Like if they live right next to the French school, every day they go to the French school and then they go back, they don't learn anything from living in another country. Just a bit at school, but if the parents they put their kids in another like in a extra activity or they socialize outside, then they'll know what it's really like. And my brother, he had less of that in a way because in the French school, as I was saying, he was talking more with the French kids, and also his sports he did them mostly in school. Like we did tennis together outside, but I had a lot of dance where I could hear Czech and where I could talk with other English people, and he didn't have that.
And so at what point did you start Czech lessons in the French school here?
I don't I think we started quite early, but I like every year it was beginner level because every year new French kids come, just some who don't speak Czech, and then they restart what we did the year before, and then they restart and they restart. And we don't really go forward. Now that I'm older, like now in Czech class we have like groups of different levels, but before it was the same for everyone. And then I'd be sitting there as like have it done in 5 seconds because I know the colors
Yeah.
in Czech and I know the numbers. I know them since like at least 10 years, but then they don't know them, the other kids in the class, so you just have to redo that, and that's probably why my Czech isn't as good as it should be.
What's your experience like speaking Czech to Czech people?
Most of them are surprised by my accent. They think I have a good accent. Like, wow, your accent is quite good because I've been hearing it a lot. And as a kid, I used to practice the r and the r and the dr, like these. So when I pronounce a word, if I force myself to, I can do it. And then when I talk naturally, I lose it because I'm thinking more about what I'm saying than the accent. But if I read something, then I can do a good accent. So usually they're surprised by that, and they're like, "Your Czech is quite good." And when I talk to Czech people about, oh yeah, I feel bad that I've been living here for so long and I can't speak Czech, they're like, well, it's one of the hardest languages, and I admire when people try to learn Czech because it's really hard. I'm like, okay, wow.
Did you ever think about taking like Czech classes outside of the French school?
No.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Like, why would you? Like, as a kid, you want to do fun stuff, not like.
Yeah, I already had a lot of dance as a kid, but there I would speak English. Now at least I have a good English.
And yeah, your English is like stunning. So you said you don't feel French so much and you don't feel Czech so much. Is there anything that could help you feel more French or Czech? How do you see the future?
I mean, I don't really. If I go to France, I'm not sure if I really see myself coming back here. I guess I'll just become gradually more French, but I'll still have this experience from living abroad.
Nice. Why do you think you wouldn't come back?
I don't know. I've seen Czech Republic.
No, but
I've probably
yeah,
come back
that's
for my
interesting.
family already. I have time to think about it, but I don't know. I don't really see myself coming back to live here. I'd have to retake Czech lessons, relive all the declinations and stuff.
So you feel like you live in a bubble here. You don't really live the Czech life?
I feel like now a bit more. Now that I grew up, I do because I go out more and I socialize more with Czech people. And since time has gone by, my parents are less like in the French, and they've met a lot of people around. So I feel like now I am. But before, when I was young, I don't think so.
Okay, so would you say right now you would like to feel more French than Czech?
I feel like right now I'm at peace with where I am.
Okay.
I feel like maybe before, probably even last year, I would have wanted to feel more French. And now I'm happy with where I am. When I talk with French people from France, I realize how lucky I am that I live here and that I see more of the world and I'm not as locked.
So is there anything that would make you feel belong more in Czech? Because you said like you think you're gonna move back to France and you're gonna stay there, but then that's like 15 years of your life.
Yeah, that I'm gonna forget that I was Czech.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I still have like some proofs that I was in Czech Republic. Like that's like I'm happy to do my driver's license here because it's gonna be a Czech document. They were asking me, "Do you want to get the Czech nationality?" Because I said it's cool to have two nationalities. I don't want the Czech nationality. I'm fine with my French nationality. But if I do the driver's license here, I'll have a document in Czech, and then they won't believe me. Like, you live in Czech Republic? I was like, yeah.
Is there any kind of like discrimination at school, like because you don't speak Czech, or?
It's probably not met, but that's how I felt it as a kid. When you hear Czech, I was like, I don't understand. And then you don't feel excluded, but like the Czech kids, they're not the same as the French kids. Like I feel like today, not as much, but when I was a kid, I felt like the Czech kids were on their side and we were not on our side. You could kind of see like the groups forming of the French international kids and the Czech kids. And I was okay with it as a kid. But then when I think about it today, it's not that I regret. Maybe if I would go back, I'd try to speak more.
But what did you learn about the Czech culture? Like Is there anything you think is great? And
I feel like Czech people, they're not, I was gonna say they're more open, but that's not quite true. It depends. Czech kids are more open in a way. For example, there's this thing here that the Czech tradition that like 2 years before the maturita, that you go to dancing lessons, like ball lessons to learn how to dance. And I feel like that's a really cool tradition. I'm happy to do it. I don't speak Czech, so it's hard to socialize with people. They understand me though. They think my Czech is okay for a French person, so I'm happy. And I'm happy to do that. It's like participating a bit in the Czech traditions.
Can you tell a bit more about those dancing lessons?
There's maturitní ples. It's the ball at the end of the year, like at the end of the school years, and the taneční is where they learn how to dance, but different types of dance. You learn disco, waltz, mambo, Latino, just different types of ball dancing.
And it's part of the school?
No, it's
Okay.
something extra, but it's a
Okay.
tradition to do it.
Okay.
For example, my stepmom,
Yes.
she did it also as a kid.
Okay. But no one's pushing you?
Nobody's pushing me. My friends asked me, "Do you want to do it?" And I like to dance. I'm a dancer, so I said, "Sure, why
Okay.
not?" They're doing quite a lot of fun stuff. They're also teaching a bit of etiquette. Like some people do it with their school. Some people sign up with their friends. Some people sign up because their parents force them to sign up. It really depends. I know it's a tradition. I hope at least it's a tradition. Maybe I'm saying something completely wrong, but I know that my stepmom, she was saying it's a tradition.
Yeah,
So
like
good.
I know like several times a year you see like all these young people like wearing like super classy gowns and suits, and I'm like, oh, it must be ball season. But I've always been so curious to know like what it is really about.
There's balls. Ball season is probably in spring. We have a ball in December and one in spring. I think it's mostly like spring because that's when they're all the maturitní ples usually.
And about dancing, so you said you also take like you have dance as a hobby outside of
Mhm.
school, and what did it bring you?
I danced since I'm 5, and I feel like being in a dance school and having dance shows helped me learn a lot because it's kind of like a job. They ask you to come every week to the rehearsals, and if you don't come, we might kick you out of the show. And they ask you to come often, and it's not like working. It's like it demands work. Like your body, it demands you something, and they ask you to do it, and they ask you to like devote days of your free time. It's kind of almost like a job, and I feel that taught me, and also that I'm less scared of talking publicly and of the stage. I'm used to going on stage. If I had to sing on stage, I'd probably be stressed. Dancing is something that I do, so now when I go on stage and I dance, I'm not scared at all. Later, if I have to do stuff where I have to talk in front of a bunch of people, or where I have to go on stage for some reason, then I'll be less scared than others. I kind of know what having a job is slightly. They expect you to come every week, and if you don't, they're gonna yell at you. So it's kind of like a pressure.
Have you ever had any jobs here?
No.
Like, do you have to do like some internships or?
Oh yeah, we had to do internships. I did one 2 years ago and one last year. But 2 years ago it was in my dance school and I didn't do much. But I was last school year, but it was this year in June. I went to Škoda and I did an internship in events. But I didn't do much. I was just watching them work because I was only there for a week. They said if I was there for
Oh, okay.
longer, they would have been able to give me something to do.
Yeah, that's super hard to do something in a week.
But in a week, I didn't have time to do much.
But what was your vibe about Škoda? Like,
I liked it. It was because it's not Czech. There were Czech people there, but it's not only Czech people. There were quite a lot. There were German people. There were some French people. It was nice. I thought the people were nice. It didn't seem like a pressure environment. Like I don't work there, but I like the vibe that it had.
okay. And what does the event team at Škoda do?
They take care of events for Škoda.
Like what?
They were talking a bit about the goodies. They were talking about the ice hockey championship. I don't know if there's stuff that I can say, stuff that I can't say. I'm scared now. They
Oh,
probably make me
because
sign like something. They make me sign something saying you can't say this and you can say that.
okay. Would that make you want to stay in like Czech Republic and work for Skoda?
My friends tell me I should come back to Czech Republic and work for Skoda because I like Skoda.
Which friend?
My friends in
Oh,
general,
okay.
they tell me, oh, you like Skoda so much, you should come back here and work for Skoda.
But did you actually, so you had to drive there like every morning? How far is it from Prague?
It wasn't the offices in Mladá Boleslav that I was in. It
Okay.
was the offices of the events, and they're closer. I forgot where exactly. I think it was Prague 4,
Okay. Oh, nice.
and I took the bus.
Okay. And do you have any other internships you have to do before you graduate?
Before I graduate, no.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna have to do, since if I want to do events, I'd have to do internships probably later.
Do you think you have any Czech traits in your personality?
There's one thing. I feel Czech people, they're less sociable. French people, when I go order, for example, like a coffee, I talk with the people and I don't want to talk to them. I don't like socializing and they don't look like they want to talk to me either. So it's kind of quick and I don't have to socialize that much. When I go to France and I talk and I order, for example, a baguette, and then they hear that my stepmom speaking Czech, it's like, oh, what language is that? Oh, where do you come from? Oh, where and that. And then you have to socialize. That's one thing that I have. I'm not very sociable. I feel like it also comes from here. And when I had my driving lessons in France, they were getting mad at me that I wasn't being expressive enough about what they were telling me. They were saying, oh, yeah, you have to do this and that. I'd be like, okay, I understand. But I wouldn't react. I just have it in my mind and think about it. And can you give me an expression, Anaïs? I can't read you. I have no idea what you're thinking. If you know understand what I'm saying, if you don't understand, like, I understand.
I
What am I
just told you
supposed to
I
say?
understand. Yes. Interesting.
I'm not very expressive. That could be a Czech thing.
Interesting. Could be, yeah. If you could relive one day in Prague, which one would it be?
No, I was talking before about my dance school, how we used to do shows. We still do, but before we used to do Loskaček, the Nutcracker. We used to do it in a theater. We can't do it anymore, but we used to do it, and it was like show days where we'd have 2 shows in that day, and it was kind of stressful because it was like a huge public show. So I really liked it as a kid, and now we can't do it anymore. But if I could relive a day, it's one of these show days, at least once.
Do you want to talk more about like what is it to have like a international family? Like you said, like your stepmom is Czech, your stepdad is German. Like what makes it fun and what makes it less fun? Or do you think it would have been the same with like a French stepmom?
No,
French stepdad?
they definitely have different ways of living. I had to adapt to their ways of living.
Like, do you sometimes pretend not to understand what they're saying because it's easier? You know, like, do you take advantage of it, or when you were younger, maybe?
I don't understand the question.
I feel like since like you don't have the same native language in common, it could be easier to be like, oh, I don't understand you, like, so I'm not gonna do what you're telling me to do, for example. Like, you know, sometimes people talk Czech to me in the street,
Oh,
and I don't want to talk to them because I'm like tired or something, so I pretend I don't understand, you know? Like, did you want to do this in your family sometimes, just to like get rid of it?
I wouldn't use it to my advantage, not understanding. I'd rather understand. I don't like not understanding. It makes me feel like I don't speak well enough.
Makes sense. Look, what would you say are the pros and cons about having an international family? Is my first question. And second is like, would you want an international family of yours?
Pros and cons. I think pros is learning different ways of living, and cons is having to actually adapt to that way of living year long. Seeing it is cool, but for a whole year, or not even a whole year, a whole life, it can quickly get annoying. But would I want an international family? Sure. It teaches a lot. You learn more. You understand other people more. You're not that lost. If you have an international family, you kind of have to adapt. Unless if you want to break that family, you have to adapt. And it's kind of teaching, in a way. It's a good lesson.
And having especially a Czech stepmom, like, does it saves you in some kind of situation?
Yeah. Sometimes it helps my dad if he has to call Czech people and he doesn't speak, then he'd give it to my stepmom and she'd take care of it.
And the same for you, or?
Yeah, but I don't need it that much. But for example, when she called the driving schools for my driving lessons to know if I could do it in English or not, there was her because it would have to be in Czech.
Nice. And actually, if you want to talk about it, you also have like a little brother. So he's
He's Czech and French.
Czech and
But
French.
he's really Czech because my stepmom is Czech.
Yeah. How does that feel? Like, what's the vibe between you guys?
I mean, more than the nationality, like we have a lot of age gap, which makes it that I'm obviously not as close as him as my brother, so it's kind of hard. But I don't think that we never had a language barrier because it's not like he speaks very quick Czech and very hard Czech, so everything he says I understand. Everything my stepmom says to him I understand as well because she talks slow because he's a kid. So I don't think it changes anything with my relationship with him.
How old is he?
He's 5.
And do you think he understands that you are born in different countries, for example?
Yeah, I think so. I think also he understands it because he knows that I have a different mom. He understands that. Sometimes he talks about my mom. He knows her name. And since I have parents that are divorced and gladly they can still talk to each other and they're still nice to each other, then he met her and so he knows who she is and sometimes she buys him stuff and so
cute.
he appreciates her.
Nice. All right, maybe one more time, like what are your plans for the future?
I think after high school I'm gonna go back to study in France. I don't really know what I'm gonna study yet. It's either gonna be if I want to do events, business. Otherwise, I wanted to do spatial design, interior design. So one of the two.
Nice.
And then I'll see where life takes me. If I do like some Erasmus in another country and I like it there and I stay there, or if I have opportunities to go study in another country, I probably wouldn't hesitate if it's a country that I like.
And so what would you do for your last day in Prague before moving to France?
I'd probably walk through the old city with some friends. Yeah, I'd walk in the old city, Václavské náměstí, probably go shopping, maybe go to shops that I like one last time, check shops, and in the evening go out one last time to see some restaurants that I liked. Take the tram because I love the tram. And I probably wouldn't be eating Czech because that's one thing that I wouldn't miss that much. But I'd go to Baguetterie Boulevard because I love it. I feel like it should go worldwide because it's so good.
Okay. Then my last question for you is I ask every of my guests to make a wish at the end of the podcast. So you can just like think about your wish. You don't tell it. Blow the candle. And if it becomes true, you can come back on the podcast and talk more about it.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have your wish, you can. Perfect. All right. That was the 8th episode. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your, how many years is it now in Czech Republic? 14 years in Czech Republic. Crazy. If you enjoy the podcast, please share, subscribe, let us know in the comments if you have any other topics or ideas of guests. So yeah, see you around for the next episode in a month.